Hello, and welcome back to Part B of Carb Quality. We're now going to apply what we learned in Part A to start our adventure in label reading. So fasten your seatbelt and let's just jump right in. As I'm sure you know by now, many food companies make all kinds of claims about how healthy and fabulous their products are. While these claims may not be untrue per se, they're designed to be deceptive to the uninformed consumer. Let me give you a few examples. A food package may say sugar-free. That may be true, and that's enough right there to entice many people to buy the product. How many sugar-free foods have you purchased solely because the label said sugar-free? But what is the company adding to the product to sweeten it? If it's not sugar, it's probably an artificial sweetener, and the presence of an artificial sweetener is enough just by itself to leave that product on the shelf. Or a food package may say fat-free or low-fat. First of all, this claim plays on people's ignorance about fats and the myth that fats are somehow bad. As you'll learn soon, this could not be further from the truth. What do you think fat-free foods are typically loaded with to make up for the satisfying taste of the fat that's taken out? If you guessed sugar, you guessed right. And as I mentioned in Part A, excess sugar is converted to fat that's stored in our bodies. How ironic is that a fat-free food would actually increase fat in your body? Of course, you can bet the food companies know this. They just don't want you to know it. And what if a package says organic? Well, that's great, but what if the food's made with organic refined grains or has a lot of added sugar? Then whether the product is organic is absolutely moot. So these claims are not untrue, but companies are relying on the consumer's ignorance, that is, on your ignorance, to infer quality in the product based on the claim, and this is not necessarily the case. And what about all natural, or low calorie, or cholesterol free? How about no trans fat, or high protein? There's no end to it, so we need to be able to sift through what's mostly gobbledygook. These claims will be splashed all over the front of the package, but the truth about the product is on the back of the package, and that's where we want to turn our attention. At this point, we're going to evaluate foods in terms of their carb quality. So that's primarily quality and quantity of grains and sweeteners in the food. We'll also evaluate the toxic load of the food. In carbohydrate foods, these toxins are typically additives, such as flavors, sweeteners, colors, and preservatives. So let's talk about what we're going to evaluate. The first thing we want to look at is serving size. When you look at a food label, do you zero in on the number of calories and that's it? We're trained to do that. How many food products do you know of that come in 100-calorie packs? This feeds into the absolutely false belief that it's all about calories, and you now know that is certainly not the case. While we clearly don't want to consume more calories than we need, calories carry nutrients. They're our friend, and our primary objective is to get the biggest nutritional bang for our calorie buck. The serving size matters because a food label might say that a food has 100 calories and 6 grams of sugar per serving. This doesn't sound like much, right? Well, if a serving size is 2 cookies, and you're going to see this, I don't know many people who eat only 2 cookies in one sitting. In fact, when I was a carb addict, I would eat half the box in one sitting, minimum. But let's be conservative and say, if I eat 6 cookies or 3 servings, that's now 300 calories and 18 grams of sugar, which is equal to about 4 teaspoons of sugar. And let's not forget that the refined flour in the cookies will metabolize just like sugar and that our bodies convert excess sugar to fat. If those calories were high in nutrients and fiber, fine. But most cookies are made of refined grains, high quantities of sugar, and lots of additives. What a revolting combination. So that turns out to be 300 wasted calories that provide negative nutritional value. Next, the number of ingredients. Rule of thumb, the fewer ingredients, the better. The more ingredients, the more likely those ingredients are unwanted additives. Ingredients are listed by quantity, from highest to the lowest. Is it organic? You've learned that organic is an outstanding quality filter, but as I just mentioned, it's not the end-all be-all. A food that's made with organic ingredients could still contain refined grains and or lots of sugar, so don't assume that just because the label says organic that you should automatically put it in your shopping cart. Does it have whole or refined grains? Look for the word whole and the presence of synthetic vitamins, which are going to tell you if the grain is refined. What are the sweetener sources? You might be shocked at how many companies try to hide the amount of sugar in their products by calling sweeteners by different names. A refined food could have 6 or more sugar sources, which you may or may not know are sugars. What additives are in the product? Let me remind you of something I mentioned previously. There are thousands of additives in refined foods, and we don't need to know them all. You'll see as we go along that there will be a number of ingredients that, just by their names, are clearly chemical additives of some sort, but we don't have to call out every one. We'll call out the ones I've talked about, and these, combined with the other quality filters, will be quite sufficient to evaluate the quality of the food. Keep in mind that one of the benefits of My Best Body is that you can go back and review any part of this course at any time. So if you're new to reading labels and I'm going a bit too fast for you, just go back and watch this part again. You'll get the drill quickly. Let's use a color coding system to make things easy. A red highlight will indicate a sugar source on the ingredients list. A green highlight will indicate a grain or another carb. A blue highlight will indicate synthetic vitamins and minerals, and a brown highlight will indicate additives. Okay, are you ready to start our adventure? Let's go. Our first food item is Kellogg's Corn Flakes, an all-American favorite. First, let's look at the front of the package to see what claims the product makes. I've included 2 package designs because celebrity endorsements are very common and people make very powerful assumptions about product quality based on these endorsements. Both packages say original and the best. So the best of what? That's what I want to know. It also says fortified with vitamins and minerals. With this statement alone, the company has just told me its product is highly refined and nutrient poor. But they've put this on their package as if it's a badge of honor, because they know that most consumers would not know this. But we do. In terms of celebrity endorsements, getting an endorsement contract is a major feather in the cap of any athlete. I remember when I was younger, the big cereal that every athlete wanted to be on was Wheaties. The question I always ask is, does a celebrity endorsement validate a product's quality? You can be sure it does for many people, but let's take this case in point. Does Michael Phelps really eat cornflakes? No one wants to think that endorsements are just a money thing, but let's see if there's anything that makes this product worthy of having a world-class athlete's endorsement, and what makes this product worthy of being called the best. Let's take a look at the label on the back of the package. We get 100 calories for a 1-cup serving, which weighs 1 ounce or 28 grams. So what nutritional bang do we get for our 100-calorie bucks? First, looking at the ingredients list, we've got milled corn. That's refined, but if there's any doubt, we've also got synthetic vitamins added to compensate for the nutrients that have been stripped from the grain. Since milled corn is the only grain in this cereal, we know that it's 100% refined grain. We've got 3 sweetener sources: sugar, malt flavoring, and high fructose corn syrup, very high on the ingredients list. Although the label says that there are only 2 grams of sugar per serving, there are 21 grams of other carbs. These carbs must be from the milled corn, and we know that milled corn will metabolize like sugar, contributing to energy spikes followed by crash and burn. And this makes the effective quantity of sugar in a serving of cornflakes 23 grams. We've also got 1 gram of fiber. I'm underwhelmed. And there's BHT added as a preservative. The ingredients are not organic, meaning the milled corn has been grown with the use of pesticides, and it's probably a GMO grain. Remember that corn is one of the top 4 GMO ingredients. And even though sodium wasn't on the list of things we were going to look at, I'm just noticing that there are 200 milligrams of sodium and 25 milligrams of potassium in a serving. In our discussion of micronutrients, I mentioned that it's not your sodium intake that's important per se, but rather your ratio of sodium to potassium. The optimal ratio of sodium to potassium is about 1 unit of sodium to every 3 units of potassium. Now, if this were a quality product, and I'm guessing that you already know that it isn't, I would just add some fruit and milk to increase the potassium. But it isn't, so I wouldn't. So, what about this cereal makes it the best? I have no idea. Do you? And do you think Michael Phelps actually eats this? Do you think that he would eat this before an Olympic race? I'm going out on a limb and guessing the answer is no on both counts. Now I want to talk about another cereal that's become very popular in the US in the last several years. Special K. I remember about 20 years ago when Special K wasn't that special. But Kellogg's has undertaken a very aggressive rebranding campaign to make it appear very, very special, and it's also extended the brand to other products like food bars, protein shakes, and even protein water. You may have noticed that when it comes to refined foods, it's all about marketing. Think about the hundreds of different cereals that pretty much have the same ingredients, those being refined grains, synthetic vitamins, and sugar. But marketing differentiates them in the consumer's mind. So you have cereals marketed to kids, to women, to health-conscious people, and so forth. In this case, Special K is marketed to women, but not just any woman, but to a woman who wants to lose weight. Have you ever noticed that Special K's TV ads always have young, beautiful, slim women, which is strange to me since they talk about weight management? Why would a slim woman want to eat this? So let's check out their label. One of the claims on the front of the label, way up in the right-hand corner, is 120 calories per serving, which, once again, feeds into the false belief that getting healthy is all about counting calories and has nothing to do about the quality of the food you're putting in your body. They also say how much sodium and sugar are in a serving, and in very small print, they say that there's both natural and artificial flavors. That alone, even before turning the box over, is enough for me to put it back on the shelf. Remember the list of chemicals in that artificial strawberry flavor. I don't want to eat that. I think people are so desensitized to terms like artificial flavor because they see them all the time and they clearly don't understand what's in them. But we do. Okie dokie, let's turn this box over. The serving size is 120 calories and 3/4 of a cup, which weighs 31 grams. There are 28 grams per ounce, so this serving size is just over an ounce. Now let's compare this to the Corn Flakes, which gave us 1 full cup that weighed 28 grams. So even though a serving size of the Corn Flakes is slightly more than a serving of Special K, it weighs less. I'm guessing that this is due to the addition of the chocolatey chunks in the Special K, which add to the weight. Let's see what nutritional bang we get for these 120 calorie bucks. The first ingredient is rice, which is refined, followed by whole grain wheat. So we've got 2 grain sources with rice listed first. Other carb sources come from the chocolatey chunks and the bran and the fiber. Because the rice is listed first, it must contribute more than 50% of the total grains in the serving. We've got synthetic vitamins, which also tells me that there's more refined than whole grain in this product. Otherwise, the company wouldn't need to add nutrients back. The whole wheat is not organic. In fact, none of these ingredients is. So it's been grown with the use of pesticides, as has the rice. We've got a few sugar sources. Sugar is the 3rd ingredient in the cereal as well as the 1st ingredient in the chocolatey chunks. Then we've got brown sugar syrup. Now, remember our discussion of the Campbell's soup and how we learned that the less than 2% claim applies to each individual ingredient listed after it, and that 2% may not be as minuscule an amount as you might think. In total, we've got 9 grams of sugar in each serving, which is about 2 teaspoons. We've got 3 grams of fiber, which is probably more from the added wheat bran and fiber than the whole wheat. Notice we've got 25 total carbs in each serving. If I deduct the 12 grams for the fiber and sugar, I have 13 grams left, and this must be from the grain. Since at least 51% of the grains are from the refined rice, for all intents and purposes, I can include that amount with the sugar since our bodies are going to metabolize the rice like sugar. Of course, there could be 90% refined rice and 10% whole wheat. We don't know. But being conservative and generous, I'll say 50% is refined rice because that makes for easy math. 50% of 13 grams is 6.5 grams of refined grain, which means at least that much and possibly more will metabolize like sugar, effectively making the amount of sugar in each serving at least 15.5 grams, which is now almost 4 teaspoons. And this also means that we have a maximum of 6.5 grams of whole grain, which is about a teaspoon and a half and possibly less. We've got natural and artificial flavor, with artificial flavor listed twice, once in the chocolatey chunks and also in the flakes, and we also have BHT. Remember that natural flavor is one of those vague terms. Just what is natural flavor in this case? We also have malt flavoring, which sounds harmless enough, but malt flavoring is on Dr. Blaylock's list of possible sources of excitotoxins. We've got a modest amount of sodium that amounts to a little bit more than twice the amount of the potassium, which doesn't bother me too much because first, the amount is modest, and second, as I noted with the cornflakes, just adding a little milk will boost the potassium. So, is Special K special? I'm not seeing it. Would anyone who is really educated in food quality eat this? Do you think those beautiful models in the commercials eat this in real life? Maybe, maybe not. But my concern is you. I just want to make sure that you don't eat this. Okay, on to the next. Here we've got Nutri-Grain bars. Nutri-Grain. Sounds incredibly healthy, doesn't it? Sometime in the recent past, it renamed its cereal bars Soft Baked Breakfast Bars. Doesn't that sound sexy? The package says made with real fruit and whole grains, and it also mentions that it's naturally and artificially flavored in very, very tiny print. I've also included a box from when these were called cereal bars because we have another celebrity endorsement. I've always liked Kristi Yamaguchi, so let's just see if she's endorsing a quality product. This box says similar things, that it contains more of the whole grains your body needs, that it's a good source of fiber, and that it's made with real fruit. And again, in very, very tiny print, it says naturally and artificially flavored. Now, Nutri-Grain has increased the whole grain in its soft-baked version, and it has slightly less sugar, and that's good. But is it good enough to stand up to its implied claim? Did you catch the implied claim? It's in the name. The name Nutri-Grain implies that it's good for you. So let's turn this package over and see. One bar gives us 120 calories and 37 grams, so about 1.25 ounces of food. Have you ever eaten one of these? They're not that big, but let's evaluate the nutritional bang that we get for these 120 calorie bucks. First, look at that ingredient list. What are the odds that there will be things in this product that we don't want when it's this long? Let's evaluate the grains in this bar. On the ingredient list, we've got whole grain oats followed by enriched flour and whole wheat flour. So, whole, refined, and whole. The fact that the enriched flour is refined is confirmed by the presence of added vitamins and minerals to make up for the nutrients that have been stripped from the grain. Because whole grain oats are the first ingredient, this bar has at least 51% whole grains because there are more oats than enriched flour. The amount of whole wheat flour is unknown. There could be as much whole wheat flour as enriched flour, or the bar could have 51% oats, 48% enriched flour, and 1% whole wheat flour. We don't know. There are 3 grams of fiber, which is an improvement over the 1 gram its previous cereal bar provided. But the bar also has added corn fiber, which contributes to the fiber content. We've got 3 poor quality sugar sources in the crust, sugar, dextrose, and fructose, and 6 poor quality sugar sources in the filling. Any fruit puree concentrate or juice concentrate is a sugar, not a fruit. Make no mistake about it. When you puree blueberries or any other fruit and then take out the water, you're concentrating the sugar. But using a sugar source from blueberries enables the company to say the bar is made from real blueberries, which is one of its claims. So 9 poor quality sugar sources that add up to 12 grams of sugar or 2.5 teaspoons. Because there are 24 total carbs in one bar, subtracting the carbs from the sugar and fiber gives us 9 grams of carbs that must come from the grain. That's just under 2 teaspoons of grain. We know that at least 51% of these grains are whole and maybe no more than 52%, and that's what my gut tells me is going on. I could be wrong, but I suspect the company has added a smattering of whole wheat so it can say there's whole wheat in the bar. But let's just say for simplicity that 2/3 of the grains are whole. I think that's generous actually. And that means that 6 of these 9 grams of carbs are from whole wheat. That's about 1 1/4 teaspoons of whole grain in a bar. Does that sound like a lot to you? That also means that 3 of the 9 grams are from refined grains that will metabolize like sugar, making the effective quantity of sugar 15 grams or just over 3 teaspoons. So we've got just over 1 teaspoon of whole grains and just over 3 teaspoons of sugar, and that would mean that there's 3 times as much sugar as whole grain in one of these bars. Not very good. Moving right along, we've also got more added vitamins. I'm not sure why, but there they are. We've also got some additives. First, natural and artificial flavor in both the crust and the filling. And again, while we know the list of chemicals that will be in the artificial flavor, we have no idea what natural flavor means. It's a blueberry bar, so in my mind, the only natural flavor should be blueberry. So why don't they say what it is? That's a red flag on the field. We also have 2 artificial colors, red dye number 40 and blue dye number 1. There are other additives in here that I'm not even going to try to point out because I've seen enough. So Nutri-Grain has made some positive changes, but are those changes good enough for you to buy this bar and eat it for breakfast? What do you think? No? Good job. I'm proud of you. Now let's look at Snackwell's sandwich cookies. I used to eat these. I was taken in by the name. Snackwell. Sounds as healthy and wholesome as Nutri-Grain, doesn't it? Well, for Snackwell's sake, I hope not. Years ago, when I saw Snackwell's on the shelf, I thought it was a miracle. A cookie that was good for me. It was an answer to all my prayers. So there aren't any stated claims, but there is one implied claim, and that's in the name. Once again, the name Snackwell implies it's wholesome. That's certainly what I thought. Okay, let's turn this box over. The serving size is 2 cookies and 110 calories. Remember the question I asked a few minutes ago about serving sizes? Are you going to eat only 2 cookies in one sitting? Not if you're me, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's evaluate the quality of these 110 calories. We have 2 grain sources, enriched wheat flour and corn flour, which is also enriched, so refined and refined, also indicated by the presence of synthetic vitamins and minerals. Because they're not organic, these grains have been grown with the use of pesticide, and the corn flour is probably from GMO corn. We've got 4 sugar sources: sugar, dextrose, glycerin, and high fructose corn syrup. That amounts to 10 grams of sugar in 2 cookies, which is a little bit more than a teaspoon of sugar in each cookie. We've got 20 grams of carbs and 10 grams of sugar. So the 10 unaccounted for grams of carbs are from the refined grains, which, as we now know, will metabolize like sugar. And this means that we can effectively double the amount of sugar in the 2 cookies to 20 grams, or about 4.5 teaspoons. Did I mention that this is for 2 cookies? We've got 0 fiber, we've got artificial flavor. The remaining ingredients are fats, along with a number of other ingredients that I've never seen on any cookie recipe I've used. So what do we get for our 110 calories, assuming we eat only 2 cookies? The answer is nothing good. I'm not snacking well. This is just a plain old junky sandwich cookie, but simply because of its name, that is, through the power of marketing, we assume it's healthy. What if the company named this product Junky Sandwich Cookies? Do you think anyone would buy it? So we've just wasted 110 calories. Now let's step into the real world where no one I know eats just 2 cookies in one sitting. Again, let's be conservative and say someone eats 6 cookies. That's now 330 wasted calories and 30 grams of sugar, which is about 6.5 teaspoons of sugar. And that's not counting the 30 grams of refined grain that will metabolize like sugar, making the amount of sugar effectively 60 grams or 13 teaspoons in 6 little cookies. Just visualize taking a teaspoon and spooning out 13 teaspoons one after another. To give you another visual, 13 teaspoons is 1 teaspoon more than 1/4 of a cup. So imagine consuming 1/4 of a cup of sugar in one sitting. Do you think your body's going to convert that straight to fat? You would be right. Of course, the worst part is that if you're the type of carb addict I was, you'll eat 6 cookies in the first 5 minutes, and then you'll go for the rest of the box. And after that, you'll go to the store and get another box. Let's also notice the sodium in this case. 130 milligrams for 2 cookies may not seem like a lot, but just double or triple that amount when you don't stick to 2 cookies. Let's leave our analysis here because we've got enough information to determine whether this food will make it into our grocery cart or not. So, not going into the cart? I'm so relieved. Next up is a Jenny Craig breakfast bar. No label reading adventure would be complete without including a food from a diet company that touts a healthy food line. I got the food bar image as well as the healthy living image off the Jenny Craig website, along with this food description. A moist, dense, chewy bar with the perfect flavor combination of cranberries, oats, and almonds, with a pure brown sugar and almond topping. Boy, that sounds good. Give me the name of their copywriter. Brings back memories of the good old days in Mom's kitchen. A grab-and-go breakfast packed with nutrition. Wow, from that description, I want to eat it. I want to eat a whole bunch of them. Well, let's just see what I want to eat. One bar is 1.4 ounces or about 40 grams, so it's about the size of a Nutri-Grain bar, which is pretty small. You can't get a sense of scale from the picture, so if you think you're going to be getting a big fat bar, you'll be in for a surprise. Right off the bat, we start out with enriched flour, and of course, with it, we've got synthetic vitamins. Not a great start. Way down the list, we have oats. I don't know whether those are refined or whole. I think they're probably whole, but they're so far down the list that it's a very small quantity anyway. We've got 8 sugar sources. No, you're not hearing things. I did say 8. We've got preservatives and natural and artificial flavors, with natural flavor listed twice. Again, what is that natural flavor? We've got 5 grams of fiber because there's added inulin, which is a plant fiber commonly added to a lot of foods to boost the fiber. We've got 14 grams of sugar, which is about 3 teaspoons. The total carb content is 25 grams. So subtracting the fiber and the sugar gives us 6 grams that must be from the grains. I'm going to consider all of the grains refined because, as I said, there are so few oats in this bar relative to the wheat flour that I don't think they make an appreciable difference. Of course, these grains will metabolize like sugar, which means we can effectively increase the sugar to 20 grams, or more than 4 teaspoons of sugar in this one tiny bar. Get out your teaspoon and visualize spooning 4 teaspoons of sugar into a bowl. That's a lot. So is this something that would come out of your mom's kitchen? Something with these ingredients never came out of my mom's kitchen, I can tell you that. I also want to come back to the claim that this product is packed with nutrition. Where? If it's there, they're doing a pretty good job of hiding it. Remember that old commercial where the lady says, "Where's the beef?" Well, where's the nutrition? So, what's the verdict? Not going to sign up for Jenny Craig? I'm with you. And by the way, there are other diet programs that offer prepackaged food, as I'm sure you know. If you're curious, take a look at some of their foods and see if they're any different from Jenny Craig. I think you'll find that they really aren't. Okay, next up, Trader Joe's multi-grain crackers. I added this one because I was talking earlier about how companies use the term multi-grain to make uninformed people think their products are healthy. Looking at this package, I would sure think these crackers are healthy, although the first thing I notice is that they're not organic. Setting that aside for a moment, the package claims that the crackers are a good source of fiber and that there are just 2 grams of sugar per serving. Of course, to see if this claim really means that it's a low-sugar product, we'll have to see what a serving size is. If it was 1 cracker, that wouldn't be good. Then, of course, we have the implied claim that because it's multigrain, it must be good for you. The picture of the crackers is also a draw for me. They just look healthy and yummy, don't they? Let's see how these claims stack up to reality. The serving size is 14 crackers, or 32 grams, which is about the size of a bowl of cereal. This tells me the crackers are relatively small. Looking at the ingredients list, the very first ingredient is enriched flour, along with added synthetic vitamins. So the very first ingredient is refined grain. Looking further, we've got Scotch oatmeal, which I'll assume is a whole grain. Then we have rye flour, which is refined, or it would say whole, followed by multi-grain flour blend. The wheat, rye, triticale, barley, corn, rice, and durum are all refined. The millet and the oats may be whole. The soybeans, sunflower seeds, and flax are not grains, and they're added to contribute more to the protein and the fat than the carbs. We've also got a tiny amount of malt flour thrown in for good measure. These crackers also contain wheat germ. The germ of a grain is very delicate, so if these crackers were baked at a very high temperature, the germ could be damaged. So all in all, I'm going to guess that at least 75% of the grain in these crackers is refined, and I think that's being very generous. We also have some sugar sources, and it certainly does appear that there isn't much sugar in this product, given that you're getting just 2 grams per serving, which is less than a half a teaspoon. That said, you now know that your body will process the refined grain like sugar. So we've got 22 total grams of carbs in a serving. Subtracting the fiber and the sugar from the carbs leaves us with 19 grams, which come mostly from the grains. I'll shave off 2 grams to account for the soybean, the sunflower seeds, and the flax. If 75% of the grains are refined, that means almost 13 grams of these carbs come from refined grains and will metabolize like sugar, which effectively bumps the sugar content of a serving of these crackers up to nearly 15 grams, which is just over 3 teaspoons of sugar in one serving. And that's quite different from a half a teaspoon. We've also got 200 grams of sodium per serving, which wouldn't bother me if I ate only one serving. And in the old days, that would have been a big if. And if these crackers were healthy. Because if they were, I would just eat them with some guacamole to bump up the potassium. Coming back to the fact that these ingredients are not organic, which means I can expect trace amounts of pesticide and possibly some GMO soybeans and corn, let me ask you, will you be adding these to your shopping cart today? No? You're getting good at this. Now I want to look at a fruit snack because fruit is another source of carb. Here I've picked a fruit snack from Welch's, yet another iconic brand. In fact, the label reminds us that Welch's has been around since 1869. I've seen a lot of parents give this snack to their kids because they think fruit is nutritious, which it is, depending of course on the quality and the quantity you eat. This package has a lot of claims. First, it's fat-free. Well, to me, that's a dead giveaway that this product is high in sugar, and since it's concentrated fruit, I already know it is. It's made from real fruit. Well, that's a relief. It has no preservatives. Some people may take this to mean there are no additives, which would not necessarily be the case. A serving gives you 100% of your daily value of vitamin C. It's an excellent source of vitamins A and E, and of course the implied claim. Because it's a fruit snack, it must be healthy. So let's turn this package over and see. The serving size is one bag that has 25 grams, so less than an ounce. That's a very small quantity. And it's got 80 calories. So let's see what nutrition bang we get for our 80 calorie bucks. The first ingredient is juice from concentrate. Juice from concentrate may be made from real fruit, but as I said before, it's a sugar source. This is followed up by 2 other sugar sources, corn syrup and sugar. There is some fruit puree, but probably not much. We also have a few synthetic vitamins added. We've got natural and artificial flavors, so you know I'm going to ask. First, if you have the flavor of the fruit, what natural flavor do you need? And second, why do you need to add artificial flavor to a fruit snack? Isn't the flavor of the fruit enough? This bugs me. We also have red dye number 40, and that bugs me too. The sugar content is 12 grams or almost 2.5 teaspoons in this tiny bag. The total carbs are 19 grams, with 12 grams of sugar, leaving 7 grams of carbs from some other source. However, all of this will metabolize like sugar because there's no fiber in the product. This means that I would add those 7 grams to the sugar sources, making the effective sugar quantity 19 grams, which is 4 teaspoons. This is a lot for an adult, let alone a child. So, what do you say? Not going in your basket? Good decision. Okay, last up. I had to also include some kind of chip snack because we eat these by the billions. So I went with Doritos, and I'll admit right now that I've eaten my fair share of these. Probably more than my fair share back in the day. There are really no claims except to say nacho cheese flavor. Of course, adding the flavor to nacho cheese leads me to believe that there's artificial flavor in this, but let's see. A bag of chips is 1 ounce, which you already know is a very small amount if you've eaten a bag of these, and it's 140 calories. So let's see how much nutrition these calories deliver. The first ingredient is corn. That's refined, and it's also a GMO crop, and I certainly believe that the corn used here is GMO. Further down we have corn flour, also refined, and my same comment about the GMO. Even though the sugar content says 0, we have a few sugar sources down the list. Lactose is simply milk sugar, and while the dextrose and sugar aren't quality sources, they don't bother me nearly as much as all of the additives in this product. Maltodextrin is a food additive that's also used to sweeten. Then we've got monosodium glutamate, the big daddy of excitotoxins, followed by whey protein concentrate, a possible source of excitotoxins from Dr. Blaylock's list. Then we have artificial flavor, and remember I guessed from the description of nacho cheese flavor that this would be the case. Whenever you see something that says such and such flavor, it's a dead giveaway to the presence of artificial flavors. Then we have the vague term spices, which is also a tip-off to a possible excitotoxin source. Why don't they just say what spices they use? It's not that hard to add them to the ingredients list. And then we have 3 artificial colors, all in this one tiny bag. We've got 16 total grams of carbs, which gives us 15 grams when we subtract the 1 gram of fiber that must come from the corn. We know the corn flour is refined, and the corn has a lot of starch that will metabolize just like sugar. So this bag effectively gives us 15 grams of sugar, which is more than 3 teaspoons. Imagine if you ate a big bag of these, all the sugar and toxins you'd be eating. And come on, who hasn't? I have, I admit it. So that's it. You've made it to the end of our first adventure in label reading, and we'll have several more. I hope this was a very eye-opening exercise and that you can see clearly how companies will say all kinds of things to get you to buy their products that simply do not hold up to the slightest scrutiny when you know what to look for. The next time you go to the store, you'll notice that you're looking at foods through a different lens, and this will start happening automatically. Our next stop is to learn about protein. We'll basically follow the same format for protein and then again for fats. I'll tell you what protein sources are good quality and poor quality in Part A, and then we'll have another adventure in label reading with protein and then fats in Part B. Now let's review your action items. As I've mentioned before, I'm not going to repeat action items from previous classes, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue them. Many of the previous action items represent daily practices that you should be adopting. So this week, have your own adventure in label reading by evaluating the carb foods in your kitchen. These will primarily be grain and fruit products, but also other foods that are high in sugar, such as ketchup and ice cream. If they're junk, throw them out. Please don't say, well, they're junk, but I paid for them, so I'll eat them and then I just won't buy them again. Why would you want to eat junk? Just bite the bullet and throw them into the trash. You'll be better off. And then when you shop, replace what you threw out with quality versions. All right, excellent job. I can't wait to see you again for another adventure. So we'll see you soon. Cheers.